Hey y'all, it is Sunday, sometime in the morning. I know we were supposed to set our clocks back an hour. I think it's about 12:45. I'm on my way to meet Mary Jo for lunch, and we're going to go to this sporting goods store called Big Five. I'm looking for a cot for the van. But I'm not going to talk about that right now, y'all, because I want to get my thoughts together. I've really run into some problems, and I'll outline those in a different video. What I'm going to talk about right now on this little commute is what happened to me at Kmart. One of you asked me about that. Well, here it is. I was married to husband number 6. We were living in Bremerton, Washington. Hope I can find Mary Jo. Anyway, we were living in Bremerton, and he was running a school up there. And we had bought a little house, and well, it was actually our second house in Bremerton. But anyway, the yard was terrible. It was all weeds, and it was pretty bad. But I didn't care because I loved that. So now we were less than a mile from Lowe's. Now those people at Lowe's knew me by my first name. I was in there 2 or 3 times a week, buying bags of soil, bags of fertilizer, bags of grass seed, flowers, plants, you name it, I was buying it. Well, I wasn't working at the time, and I was spending a lot of money, y'all, on the yard, and I had spent money on the house itself as well. So one day my husband said, kind of jokingly, he said, I think you need to get a fund money job. And so we just laughed. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, you know what, guys? Even though he makes good money, I'm spending it hand over fist. Now, we'd had a discussion about our finances before. Now, y'all need to know this is the only man, the only relationship that I ever had that I had trust in him to run the finances. And I trusted him totally. But the conversation that we had was what our income was, what our outgo was, and what our savings goals were. And I told him at that time, I said, babe, listen, we both know that I spend a lot of money. Not big chunks, but I feel like I'm nickel and diming us to death. So what I would like you to do is increase your savings. He had automatic savings, y'all. It was his. I couldn't touch it, and I didn't want to touch it. So anyway, I told him, I said, increase that savings, and the less that's in our checking account, the less that I'm going to spend. I tried not to spend a lot of money, y'all, but I was a terrible, full-blown shopaholic, and I admit that. And I tried so hard, and when I would buy things, I'd feel guilty, and then I'd return them, and then I'd go shopping again. But anyway, I digress. So I thought, you know what, he's right. I need to get a little job and just use my money for fun money. So I went and applied at a couple places, and we had a local Kmart, and I really liked it. It was a mess though, y'all. Oh my gosh. It was a very old store, and it was a mess. But I still liked shopping in there. But my fingers just itched because of my ADHD and OCD. So anyway, I went in there and applied, and I got an interview with the store manager. Now, they had just transferred him over there not long before. So in the interview, he was going to hire me, and he was going to pay me minimum wage. And I said, no, I don't think so. I said, you know, I've got some years on me. I've got a lot of experience, and I think you need to raise that about 50 cents an hour. So he just sat there, and we sat there looking at each other, and pretty soon he just smiled and he said, okay, I think you're going to be worth it. That ended the interview, except for him to give me a start date and an appointment with HR to get all the paperwork done. Now, y'all, I admit that my mind goes to the, not gutter really, I don't want to say gutter, but you know, I mean, people say things and, well, you get my drift. So anyway, I thought, he thinks I'm going to be worth it, huh? But then that was it. It crossed my mind, and then I forgot all about it. Well, I started. I loved it. I loved it. For somebody with OCD, all that straightening that needed to be done, I was in my element. Now, I have to tell y'all, there were several of the ladies there that were in our age group. They did not like me. I never stopped moving, y'all. I didn't have any back problems then. I was young, I was energetic, and I was on the move. And they did not like that at all. They had been there for years and become very complacent. And I'm sure they felt a little guilty because I was working my tail off while most of the time they were standing around talking, gabbing. So anyway, yeah, they didn't like me at all. So the boss started coming to whatever department I was in and standing very close to me, and it made me uncomfortable. And I told him, I said, you know what, you're getting in my space, could you back up just a little bit? And he would laugh, and then the next time it would be the same thing over. And then he started coming up to me and putting his hand on my lower back. Well, y'all, that was enough for me. I'd learned my lesson when I was a young woman, and things had kind of changed. So I called the corporate office, and I said, I'm filing a complaint against the manager here, and I told them that he said some inappropriate things, and he was touching me, and I had told him not to. So that was going on. Then there was a gentleman who came to evaluate our store, and he was a younger guy, y'all. He was quite a bit younger than me. And he was always talking to me about one thing or another. And I was starting to get uncomfortable. And I told him, I said, you know, I have a lot of work to do, and I don't want to look bad, so maybe we better not, you know, visit so much. So he said, okay, I get that. But he didn't stop. And one day he was standing next to me, and he said, hey, how about we go for a drink after work? I hesitated for a minute, and then I said, okay, let me call my husband. I know he would be happy to go for a drink. Well, let me tell you, he shut up, he turned around, and he just walked off. So that was the end of that for him. What happened in the end was I went ahead and made a complaint against him because I kept thinking about other women, especially younger women, that would be too timid and too scared to handle him. Well, I don't know what happened to the supervisor at that store, but he left. And so did the young man. Now, I don't know what happened to him, y'all, and I don't care. But I surely hope they had big reprimands and it made them stop and think about harassing other women. So, I never told my husband about these things because I knew him. And he was very protective of me. He wasn't really jealous. He and I did not have that kind of relationship. We were older. I was 40 when he and I got married. Maybe older. I was 43. Anyway, we were mature people, and we didn't have that jealousy component or anything like that, but he was very protective of his family. So I never mentioned these things to him. I knew that he would have a confrontation, and I did not want that to happen. So anyway, guys, that was it for Kmart. And let me tell you, after the stuff that happened to me when I was a young woman, I learned very quickly to stand up for myself and put guys in check. I never tolerated any behavior like that at all. In fact, I nipped it in the bud. I didn't let it go and try to figure out whether they were or were not harassing me. I just told them straight up, don't touch me, don't talk to me like that, period. And they didn't. Most of the time, if you stand up to people like that, they will go and leave you alone. But anyway, that's it, y'all. I'm almost to Dick's Sporting Goods where the cots are, and I want y'all to do something fun today. Love you. Bye now.